right, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is April 4th, 2024, and the time here is already noon here in America. In the Gambia, it's gonna be 7 p.m. on this Thursday evening. My name is Ensa ABC, United States of America, again. I have a topic of discussion today to highlight to everyone who listens and who follows me periodically. The topic of discussion today, I think, might be very, very important to our lives and our livelihood. Today, I would like to talk about mental health and what the mental health issue is all about. People struggling with mental health and people who underestimate the issue of mental health. Because when we look at our society, we see that all of these crimes and petty theft and petty crimes happening, murder, deaths, and so many ills of society are basically caused by things that people who are doing them are not in their right frame of mind. So therefore, mental health is a very, very important topic of discussions. It is a topic of discussion that people do not want to bring outside to the limelight. And by and large, if you look at the population of the world and our individual society, whether in a family setting, there are people battling mental health issues, struggling with it on a daily basis. But they do not want these things to be discussed or for people to know that they have some kind of mental issue going on. And there shouldn't be any shame or stigma attached to this, because this is a very important and significant thing. Anything you feel, anytime you feel you are not in your right frame of mind, you need to seek help. How do you seek help? And how does the society that you live with recognize you and appreciate you to offer you the same help? That is a very important significance to our livelihood. Make no mistake, we as a people would have to sit by and make sure that we make an inclusive society, a society that is just, not only just but righteous, accepting the way and manner people have been made or how people are, because we do not want to have a society that would stereotype, a society that would look low upon people who are of special need, people who need help to integrate into society. So that is why today I want to discuss this mental health issue, because when you look at it, almost 7 or 5 out of every 10 people must have to have at least a kind of a mental health issue or mental breakdown in their lifetime. In fact, I would increase the number by saying that every individual you see have at least gone through some mental issues. Then the degree and magnitude of that mental health would be the different thing that we would want to talk about. Some of them, their mental health issues are uncontrollable. They are exacerbated. It got outside the control of trying to help them how to take ownership and control their life. But others, you can see their mental health is just a little bit controlled. They know how to seek help. They know how to talk to people. And when they do that, that becomes a game changer. But then you must not make any shame attached to this subject matter, because at least there has been trauma almost. Because of those traumas, people go through mental breakdown. Some people, because of a hardship in life, they go through mental issues, continuous depression, anxiety, and continuous chronic pain that is happening in their life. So essentially, by and large, if I sit by here and say, every individual is a mental health patient, by and large. So to the degree and the magnitude towards which their mental health is controlled is the question that people need to look at. But other than that, we can all be regarded as mental health patients because of things that are going on. Because you can see some people, excessive sleeplessness, anxiety, fatigue, loss of appetite and all of that could be signs and symptoms of mental health. So could it be right if we as a people sit by and say, oh, okay, everybody is a mental health patient? Probably yes, and probably to some people, no. But essentially, the theme of discussion today is mental health. What do we mean by that? So some psychologists or researchers mention that mental health refers to the person's emotional, psychological, social well-being, and it encompasses our thoughts, feelings, and behavior, as well as our ability to handle stress related to others and make healthy choices. Now, when we look at all of these things, there are so many things compounded, and it goes beyond only our behavior, but things that we do and things that we manifest in our actions, psychologically, emotionally, and even socially. So there is a lot at stake. So a good mental health contributes to the overall life satisfaction and functioning. This involves balancing your activities, responsibilities, and efforts to achieve a psychological resilience. Now, mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through our adulthood, because the way and manner people are brought up can also depict and tell us how their mental status would be. If a child has gone through a turbulent times and has had a lot of trauma and a lot of difficulties in their lifestyle, that child would have at least either one aspect of mental breakdown, either psychologically, socially, or emotionally. So mental health can affect a person's day-to-day life, relationship, and physical health. External factors in people's life and relationship can also contribute to their mental well-being. This is not a joke, and these are things that have been highly researched, and that is how it is. Also, you look at the mental health care professional can help people to manage conditions such as maybe depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, addiction, and other disorders that affects the thoughts, feelings, and behavior of people. So people have a lot of things going on in their lives. Either it is stress, bipolar, anxiety, depression, and addiction. All of these things are mental issues that people are dealing with in our society, and they got forgotten. And sometimes people look low upon them without trying to map out what kind of problems those people are going through. But essentially, by and large, you look at them, they need our help and they need our support in a very profound and tremendous manner. No, now we can look at some of the issues on how to help people affected by depression, stress, anxieties, and things that would affect the mental health and may disrupt a person's routine. Now, emotional well-being. The key points, we are trying to discuss about the key points about mental health. Let us look at the emotional well-being. Mental health involves experiencing a range of emotions from happiness and contentment to sadness and anxiety. And also it is normal to have ups and downs in our lives, which everybody does have, but persistent negative feelings may indicate a mental health concern. Now, again, another key point to look at most importantly regarding the mental health issue is coping skills, because all of the people might be going through mental issues, but there are some who manage and have control over their mental health issue. Now, mental health include our ability to cope with life challenges. Effective coping mechanism help us manage stress, adversity, and difficult situations. Now, again, we look at the social connections about mental health. This is a topic that maybe many people would not put importance to, but this is the most significant topic of discussion and worth listening to, because you look at it, it affects society, it affects families, it affects relationship and people's personal involvement in their daily life. So you look at social connection. A healthy mental well-being involves positive relationship with family, friends, and the community. And the social support is essential for maintaining a mental health. That is quite important, because if we are not ourselves, we withdraw ourselves from society. We tend to hide ourselves and our feelings for people not to know that we are battling with this kind of mental health. And until and unless we do something very dangerous, that's the time people begin to know that, oh my God, how did this all happen? But there are signs and symptoms that these early signs and symptoms that may start to manifest. If we are very good observatory, we look at things and we look at ourselves and our family members, we can try to easily tell that this person is struggling in their life, and we should be able to help them what they need in order to integrate into society. And look at the self-esteem and self-image. A positive self-image and a healthy self-esteem contribute to mental well-being. Feeling good about yourself and having confidence are very crucial, because in our society you can see there are so many people who look low upon themselves. They are not comfortable with their skin, they are not comfortable with their weight, and they are not comfortable with the way they look. So in life, you know, you can see that you should be proud of whoever and whatever you are, because God has created all of us so uniquely and so very differently, and in the way and manner. There are people who are struggling with weight. Some of the people are saying that, oh, I'm growing fat, I'm this thing, forgetting that there are some people who were born genetically in their lifetime. No matter how much they diet, they cannot look slim, or they cannot look like a figure 7 or 0. At the end of the day, there are others too who are born genetically, either through their great-great-grandparents, who seem to be very skinny. No matter how much they eat, they can never grow bigger or to have a big muscles here and there. So these low self-esteem and also self-image thing is disturbing our society in a vast way and manner. And if you do these things in a very profound manner, we can say that you are struggling with mental health, because you are not very comfortable in your own skin or in your own weight or in your own look. So that is something that people need to watch out for, and everybody needs to be very proud of who they are and how they look and what they have become. Now, resilience is another part of this thing, which refers to the ability to bounce back from setbacks, trauma, and adversity. Resilient individuals can adapt and recover from difficult experience. Now, all of us may go through turbulent times in our lifestyle. And also we can sit down and see that, oh, life isn't what it is all about. Sometimes we go through ups and downs. But when you go through all of those ups and downs, either a trauma or a very bad thing, you can, a setback in your life, you can bounce back and recover from that, and you have ownership of your life again. The worst thing is if you have a setback, you dwell in that setback, or you live in that setback or trauma or failure. You think that you cannot make it anymore in life. That's the worst thing. But the downfall of a man is not the end of their life. So resilience would mean when people have all of those things together, you are able to evolve outside of it and come back, recover from it, and have ownership of your life. Now, another part, mental illness, which we are even discussing here right now. The mental illness problems can range from mild to severe. Conditions like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and eating disorder fall under this category. Seeking professional help is crucial for managing mental illness, because you can see if people have depression, it changes from mild to the moderate. Very severe depression can make people to lose their mind, can make them to do something very dangerous in society. And also bipolar, which is mood swing. You are happy in this 1 minute, in the next 2 minutes you are very excited. You are excited now, in the next minute you are very angry. You know, schizophrenia, all of that. That is a severe condition of mental illness where, you know, ranging from bipolar, mood swing, and a combination of a variety of all those sicknesses combined together, mentally, socially, you become schizophrenia. And eating disorder, there are people who would become anorexic, meaning they cannot eat well. They become very skinny, very tight, and no matter what you give them, they cannot eat more. And those things need the intervention of a professional doctor to help you, or a professional mental health counselor to help you. So these are very important. And a healthy measure, healthy measures, taking care of our mental health involve self-care practices, stress management, seeking support in our society, and also maintaining a healthy lifestyle. All of this that I have highlighted is an integral part of overall well-being, and seeking help when needed is a sign of strength, because you should not be ashamed at all. If you or someone you know is struggling, consider reaching out to a mental health professional or a support network. Now, one would be sitting down and thinking, how can I help people with mental illness, or someone with mental illness? You can do a large thing. You can be a game changer. You can do a whole lot of things by helping somebody to get out of this mental breakdown or crisis. And one of those things you can do basically is support system. Hold on a second. I don't know if people were hearing me, but I think I had put my audio very, very low, so I'm not sure if people hear me well. Well, like I was saying, we can all help in one way or the other somebody affected with this kind of mental health. One aspect of doing that, you know, support someone with mental health issue is essential for their well-being. And how could that go? Compassionate and practical ways to provide support. Listen, and to be very non-judgmentally. Listen and non-judgmentally. Be an empathic listener and let them express their feelings without interrupting or judgment. Sometimes just having someone to listen can make a significant difference. There are people who are very lonely. There are some people who do not have people to talk to. But by going to listen to them, if they are going through mental health breakdown or mental health issue, would change significant issues in their lifetime. Educate yourself. You can also learn about mental health condition, understand common symptoms and triggers that manifest themselves, and coping strategies. Also, knowledge helps you provide informed support. If you are uninformed about the issue of mental health, perhaps you cannot provide the needed help that you need to have. But by knowing some of these triggers and some of these conditions that manifest themselves, if you see them, you would clearly be able to know how much help you can offer them or give help to people who are affected. You should always try to be readily available. Reach out regularly. A simple text or call can show that you care. Loneliness can worsen mental health, so your presence matters. Like I said, some people who are living in their own world, they don't want to associate themselves with society. If you detect or know that they are experiencing some mental health issue, sometimes you need to talk to them, reach out to them, and that would make them feel better, because once they dwell in that lonely environment, it can make a whole lot of bigger problem. Encourage professional help too, like I say, with mental health care professionals. Encourage them to seek professional assistance. Offer to help find a therapist, counselor, or psychiatric. Accompany them to appointments if needed. That would help them to normalize themselves, Normalize conversation. Talk openly about mental health. Break the stigma by sharing your own experience or encountering them to share theirs. So again, the stigma attached to mental health is something that is affecting our society, because many people may sit down and thinking that, oh, if I have this, I should not be able to discuss it. And without discussing this kind of mental health issue, there is a big stigma attached to it. So we have to break the chain of stigma that is attached to this, and trying to share your own experience about maybe somebody who went through the same thing, but they recover and bounce back to their normal life. Or if you yourself has had some kind of mental health issue, but you recover from it, you can also share to the ongoing individual who is struggling with mental health. And it is very important, because it is this mental health that makes some of the individual to do some bad things in society, which normal people who are in their right frame of mind would not do. So also offer practical assistance. Sometimes daily tasks become overwhelming. Offer to cook a meal for them, or run errands, or assist them to do their chores for them. Because when somebody is battling with mental health, they become very lethargic. They become very lazy. They do not have other, they do not have the grip of what their life would hold, or their daily life activities. So you who is not battling with mental health, you can just step in and try to do some of those things, whether you run their errands, cook for them, or do their chores for them. That would help a lot, because what they have is bigger on their plate. They are worrying about their mental well-being, social and emotional well-being, and psychologically. We need to be patient as well. Recovery takes time. Understand that progress may be slow. Patience and consistency matter, because sometimes this mental health, it depends on the severity of how chronic it is. That too matters a lot, because somebody whose mental health has gone very long time without getting professional help, then patience and perseverance is needed in that, because it would take time to recover from it, and for the person to bounce back. So patience do matter, and consistency. We also need to avoid giving unsolicited advice. Unsolicited advice, like sometimes you may want to help, but the person who you are helping must be ready to accept the advice from you. So the unsolicited advice here would mean that the person should be ready to give you advice. Instead of saying, just cheer up, validate their feelings, let them know it is okay to struggle, you know. So sometimes it's very important that whatever they are experiencing or saying, you have to validate that. Your validation is very, very important. And then also tell them it is okay to struggle, but in the end, you can give methods of how that struggling could be ended in a way and manner. Because sometimes when you give a certain advice, the person who is receiving it is not ready to take it. So that is very important to look at. Learn crisis intervention. Familiarize yourself with crisis helplines and emergency resources. Be prepared to act if they are in crisis. Everybody might be battling with this kind of thing, but whenever it manifests itself, you have to be there for them to help. Self-care. Supporting someone can be emotionally draining. Take care of yourself too. Seek support from friends, families, and a therapist. In fact, somebody who is battling a mental health care, a mental health trauma or anxiety issue, you know, supporting them is very significant. But sometimes involving yourself too much into those kind of issues can be very draining. So therefore, it is very important you yourself to be able to take care of yourself, to seek support from family, friends, and also even a therapist to be able to help you get out of that mental health crisis. We have to also remember our presence and kindness can make a significant impact in the people's life that are battling with mental health. So if somebody becomes suicidal, that means if they are battling this mental health to a degree that they lose hope on themselves, and then now they want to take their own life, what kind of support we can offer them so that they can get out of that mental psyche in order to be able to help themselves to think rationally and to get the needed help that they need to have. So, number one, we have to be very tactful, strategic, and try to help these people. You have to ask the person directly if they are considering suicide. While it might feel uncomfortable, this question opens up communication and allow them to share their feelings. Because if somebody wants to take their life, you have to know exactly whether they truly want to take their life or if they truly have a plan of taking their own life. Listen compassionately, listen without judgment. You cannot judge them because they are battling some kind of lapses, you know. It's a health issue, you know. Let them express their emotions and thought, show empathy and validate their feelings. We need to do that. We must not be judgmental or try to look at them, or some people ridicule or laugh at them. No, these people are struggling in life. They need help. Like I said, everybody might go through these kind of hurdles in life. So you detecting these things must act very fast and be very reasonable and empathic with them. Also, you have to make sure once you establish all of these things, you have to encourage professional help. You need to know the person who you ask whether they want to take their own life. Encourage professional help by calling 911 if the situation is urgent. Call emergency. Now, we do have different call lines and call signs that you do depending on where you live. But I know in the United States, 911 is our emergency situation call line. And maybe you can text or call 988 depending where you are. But in our United States here, they connect them to a call to the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Here, our lifeline or suicide crisis lifeline is 988. This confidential service provides 24-hour support to people who are in crisis emotional distress. So we need to be very tactful and try to reach out to them and have them these services available. We need to stay with the person who wants to take their own life. If possible, we stay with the person until professional help arrives. Your presence always matters in this kind of thing. We have to avoid leaving them alone, because them manifesting or verbalizing that they want to take their own life is something very, very unfortunate. So once you establish that, you need to be with them until that helpline arrives, so that the person can go and seek professional help, because loneliness will exacerbate their condition. Maybe they would have to get some weapons or other stuff that is around them in order to end their own life. So you need to be with them as and when you detect these type of things that the person want to commit suicide. We have to also, by being there, it's not enough, but we have to remove some harmful objects. If you are physically present, we need to remove potential harm objects from their vicinity, because this is a person who has a plan, who verbalized to you that they're going to end their life. So that person need to be watched or monitored so that they can get out of these negative thoughts. But at the end of the day, we should all remember that our intervention can save a life. Whenever and wherever we detect that some people are battling through this mental health issue, we can encourage them to speak to a professional assistant and let them know they are not alone in it. Because everybody is kind of battling some kind of mental health, but they feel ashamed because of the stigma attached to it, and we need to break the cycle of the stigma. And we as a people, we have to be very careful and know that no amount of shame should be taken lightly in this, because your life depends on it. Because if you have a chronic mental illness, you cannot even do your own daily lively activities, which is so sad. But we can also look at some factors that may be responsible for risk factors for suicide. We can hypothesize that several factors contribute to suicide risk. These factors are can vary across individuals, relationship, communities, and also societies. But let us look at one of them. Individual risk factor. Previous suicide attempt. Has the person have had an episode of suicide attempt? A history of prior suicide attempt increase the risk. If the person has had this kind of suicide thought or attempts, it becomes very risky, because that person has been trying it unsuccessfully, trying it again unsuccessful, but they may find a unique and specific time where they want to do it and to end their own life. History of depression or other mental illness. You have to look at that also. Have you had in the past some kind of mental illness, depression, anxiety, and all the other associated mental illnesses? Mental health conditions play a significant role. So we have to not only look at that, but we have to look at serious illness that the person have had. Maybe a chronic pain, physical health challenges impact or mental well-being. We need to look at all of that. And also, not limited to that, we have to look at the criminal or legal problems that the person has had in the future that contribute to the person's distress of taking their own life. We have to not only stop there, we have to look at their job. What kind of job are they in? Is their job stable, or are they struggling with their job, or their financial problem? Because economic stressors affect mental health in everywhere, whether it is you or me or everyone. That's a fact. Impulsivity or aggressive tendencies. Have we seen the persons that have a trait of being very aggressive or being very impulsive? So these traits may elevate the risk if at all the person has had it in the future. And again, not only limited to that, but we can see that substance use also will come. The person will become an alcohol or drug misuse can exacerbate the the suicidal thought. If the person is having a mental health issue, they continue to turn into drugs, or alcohol usage become very paramount, and the suicidal ideation thought will manifest itself again. The sense of hopelessness, like the person tend to have the person is have a feeling trapped and without hope, increases risk, because the person has a low self-esteem in themselves. Maybe they are hugely big in size, then they call themselves, I'm fat, I cannot be small. Maybe they are uniquely very skinny or small, and they cannot even eat. And if those sense of hopelessness comes into person, then the risk becomes very, very high. And violence or victimization or perpetration exposed to violence impact mental well-being. All of these things do exacerbate the risk of a person having a mental breakdown. So we have to analyze and be able to figure out, to know all of these things that are the risk factors of it. Relationship risk also, risk factor. Bullying, harmful experience within relationship contribute to risk. If somebody might be in a very toxic, bad relationship, that also may elevate the level of mental issue, depending on how the way and manner the person has been treated in their relationship, or whether it is abusive or toxic. So these things, loss of relationship, like if the person has a very wonderful spouse or fiance or boyfriend, girlfriend, the person end up losing them at a time. The grief and loss affect mental health, because people dwell on it and think that, oh my God, my fiance, my this, that, and that. That can also exacerbate the level of mental health in us. And in our society, people are not very open to discuss these things, but these things are worth discussing, because like I said, at least everyone within our society must have gone through at least one of these traits in their lifetime. And the way and manner you recover from it, you bounce back to become your own self, is worth looking at and trying to reteach that to somebody who is struggling in an ongoing mental health crisis. Now, again, a high conflict or violent relationship, unhealthy dynamic, elevate risk. Because if you are in a very violent or conflict relationship, like I said, that is also a very high risk of mental health issue, because emotionally you become depressed, you become very angry, you become very unhappy, you are lonely, and all of that is a risk factor to someone plunging into mental crisis. Social isolation. Lack of social support increased vulnerability for people to be kind of dug into the issue of mental illness, because isolating yourself so much makes you to become like an extrovert. And those are things that are very serious, because mental health will be more prone to people who isolate themselves. Loneliness. Because those things, if you are lonely, it brings negative thought into your mind. So therefore, all of these things need to be factored in. So again, community risk factors, lack of access to healthcare. You know, we can see the community risk factors if you do not have. So, sorry about that. That was a call. If we do not have access to healthcare, that will also bring more prone activity to people of this thing, and the high impact of mental well-being, because we need to have resources. When people need them, they need to use it at a time and manner when it is needed most. Suicide clusters. Community, we need to have suicide clusters in the community. Contagion effect can occur, because if we do not have these suicide clusters, it's going to be very dangerous, and people need to talk about this. That's why we need to seek a professional assistance. Stress of acculturation. Acculturation would mean like you and I who are in the diaspora. When we leave our society from the Gambia is a very tolerant and sociable society. And we do things pretty much virtually together here and there. So somebody from Africa coming to live in the US or somewhere, in order for the person to adapt to situations that are in the US or Germany or Switzerland or in Italy, Holland, Norway, it becomes very hard because our cultures are very different. Cultural adaptation challenges influence risk, because virtually in Africa, we think that looking at people in their eye, especially elders, is regarded as being disrespectful. But when you come to the US or in Germany or in Europe, when people talk to you, they look at you right into your eye. If you bow down your head, they think that you are being disrespectful to them and you are rude to them. So it is the opposite or other way around. And not only that, but the way and manner we do things in Africa is totally different. So it's kind of opposite. So those challenges might be too hard for somebody to be trying to plunge themselves into a mental crisis, because everything is the opposite of what they used to do pretty much in Africa. So community violence, exposed to violence within a community affect mental health. Like if you live in a society that is very violent, as a child growing up in that kind of society, the stress, the trauma, the anxiety, and all of the related issues in your head can also contribute to mental health issue. Historical trauma, like collective trauma, impact mental well-being. Like in the past, you may have 1 or 2 or 3 kind of traumas in your lifetime. Maybe when you were growing up as a female child, were you raped by a family member, or were you raped by somebody in a family that you never want to disclose? And as you go at the mid of your age, you got the same trauma of somebody attempting to rape you or stuff like that. Those 2 things compounded together will make you to be having a historical trauma of a collective trauma that impacted in the past in your lifetime. Now, discrimination also can be prejudice, and discrimination contribute to risk factor, because if somebody does have something like a kind of a mental issue, we must not be judgmental about them to say that, oh, okay, you have this thing, that person is just psychotic, this, that, and that. Like mostly in Africa, we do not value and put more value to the people who are going through mental breakdown, because we think that these are mad people. And sometimes you can see a lot of kids and group of people will try to take stones and stick, yelling at them, teasing at them here and there. Those things we do not know. That is out of ignorance that we are doing those things, but it exacerbates the person to be even dwelling in those kind of mental health. If somebody has a psychotic breakdown or a mental health issue, like in Africa, maybe in the Gambia, how we call it, mad person, we call them mad person. Instead, the government should have opened an institution to put those people there, because that's where they belong, where they would be monitored, where they would be taken care of, where they would be given medication to cope with their mental issues. But instead, they are left free range in their society to fend for themselves and to do things on their own. And but talking about that, when I was growing up in the Gambia, by Westfield Johnson, we used to have a mad woman, as we called it, who would put piles of big loads on her head, moving around. But the lady used to live around Westfield Johnson. This woman was there. People will see her. She would get rained on that spot. Nobody would even care to give them shelter or to take them to a psychiatric hospital like what we call 𝒘𝒘𝒘𝒘 in the Gambia. And that mad woman, during the cover of darkness, ended up being pregnant there. So during the daytime, nobody cares for them. But the bad boys overnight, when they go to discos and other things, at the end of the day, coming back, they would try to help themselves and rape that poor mad woman there until she got pregnant. And during the day, nobody wants to be associated with that mad woman. But under the cover of darkness, you rape that woman until she got a baby. Who is going to be the father of that baby now? At the end of the day, these are the things that are very pertinent to our society, and we need to be very much have a semblance of empathy in us. But like I said, it can be maybe because of lack of knowledge, because there is too much of ignorance in us. That is why we would look at people who are mad, who are mentally challenged or deranged in society, sleeping outside, then we tease at them, we throw stone at them, or kids would come out and yell out and call them mad woman, or madman, madman, or whatever category of madness you are, whether you are a boy, a girl, or whatsoever. So we need to have empathy in us, like I said. Societal risk factors. A stigma associated with help seeking and mental illness. Stigma discourages help seeking help. And in our society, there is a big stigma attached to this. So we as a people, we can see that, we tend to be very big in ourselves to say that, oh, this person is battling with mental health. I don't want to discuss it, or I don't want to tell the people that I am struggling in my life, because if they know that I am going through a mental health issue, everybody is going to disown me, or they're going to laugh at me. So those stigma, we need to break the cycle of that at the end of the day, because they are not good, you know, because they make the people who are suffering from these things not to disclose it to us. And easy access to lethal means of suicide. Availability of lethal methods increase the risk. Now, if somebody who is having a stigma to all of these things, they tend to have access to a weapon, a knife, a drug, poison. They would poison themselves. They can overdose themselves, or they can blow off their own head. This is why if somebody is going through a mental health challenges, they need to talk to people. They need to be our friend. We need to accept them. We need to include them and to know what they are about to do. Are they okay? If they need help, we should be there for them. Also use unsafe media portrayals of suicide. Now, media also can be another thing, how they portray suicide, you know. So irresponsible media representation can impact vulnerable individuals to kind of risk themselves to these suicide issues. And but then at the end of the day, these are all risk factors that I want you and I myself to relearn, rethink about it, to make sure that we understand these risk factors that will help us take preventative actions and support those in need of mental support. Now, we want to look at some key areas of mental health disorders. There are so many, there are many. This would just be like browsing through the whole list of things, but at least if you have had these examples here, or you have had these, you should know that, you know, you need help at least, which, like I said, many people have had all of these things. So we all together are mental health patients in our own self. The degree or the severity or the mildness is the question that we need to answer to ourselves. Is it control? Are we getting help for it? Or are we in control of ourselves to make sure that it doesn't poke the roof to exacerbate out of proportion? Now, we can look at the healthcare professional group mental health disorder according to the features they have in common. Now, anxiety disorder. Anxiety, maybe many people have had it. You have had it, and maybe I have had it, and so many people have had it. Mood disorder. We all have had that. Mood disorder, you can have a mood swing. Sometimes you are happy, sometimes you are not. Or 1 minute you are happy, the next minute you are very angry. But when it becomes very severe, that's the question though. But at the end of the day, looking at all of these things, we all have had it, but we perhaps are in control of our mood and our anxieties. Schizophrenia disorder is another thing which we have to do. Now, it's also linked to it. When we say anxiety disorder, what do we mean? Anxiety disorder, according to an Anxiety and Depression Association of America, anxiety disorder are the most common mental health disorders. Meaning there are too many in people who are affected by it. People with those conditions have severe fear or anxiety related to certain objects or situations. You can see that most people with an anxiety disorder try to avoid exposure to whatever triggers their anxiety because they fear a lot. Now, in my line of job, if somebody who has an anxiety or something related to an anxiety, you do not want to hold that person and try to lay her down. If at all the person is a female, like a female who experienced rape in the past, if the person is in a psychiatric facility, she did something good or bad, or let's say bad, for instance, you want to restrain that person by putting either on a restraint chair or laying her down on a restraint bed to tie her down to make sure that she is safe and to ensure safety of the other. That will re-traumatize the person because the person is going to fear for her life, because to her, she thinks that she is not only being restrained for safety reason, but she is re-traumatized thinking that she was raped in the past, and now you being the person putting her on a bed, her hands spread apart and the legs spread apart to try to tie her down for her own safety, is making her to rethink and relieve the trauma that she has had during the rape in the past. You know, so those things are very important. But people do have fear and anxiety all over. Now, example of those anxiety disorder would be what we call GAD. It is generalized anxiety disorder. Involves excessive worry or fear that disrupt everyday living. They are so fearful of everything. Even if something's dropped down on the floor, they jump up. You know, even it means that those people in their head and in their chest is just on the high alert. They are just very, very much on the edge because they fear everything that happens. You know, people may also experience physical symptoms, include restlessness. They are always moving about, back and forth, pacing around. Fatigue. They are tired all the time. Also, poor concentration. They cannot even concentrate as a human being or as a person. Any little thing, they are here, they are there, they are there, because they are very hyperactive, meaning they are on their edge and very much on the go. They are tense muscles and also interrupted sleep. Lack of sleep can cause a whole lot of things. That's why we are regarded as a social being which need at least about 8 hours of sleep. But if sleeplessness comes to our mind, that means a whole lot of things would change that can cause our mood to be swinging here and there. and it can make a whole lot of changes in our mental health. Anxiety symptoms do not always have a specific trigger in people with generalized anxiety disorder, but then it can be just sporadic, you know. So again, when we look at it, they may experience excessive anxiety when encountering everyday life situations that do not pose a direct danger, such as chores. They can do their chores sometimes, appointments. A person with GERD may sometimes feel anxiety with no trigger at all. Sometimes they may not, but like I said, it varies on individual and depending on the degree and magnitude as to which they have been exposed to in the past. So panic disorder also is another mental health disorder. People with panic disorder experience regular panic attacks involving sudden, overwhelming terror or a sense of imminent disaster and death. So panic disorder can vary, maybe in an accident. You know, somebody has had a terrible accident where they lost a loved one. They would see, anytime they see a car, they would be fidgeting, they would be very much scared. Or somebody who has been robbed in their room and there they took everything and left them penniless, you know, meaning that person too will be having a whole lot of anxiety and panic disorder in their destiny, because anytime they see a group of people or they see people who cover their faces, that will remind them of that incident. Or they can see about a terror attack in some places where they kill a whole lot of people. And anytime, even if they see a news about people with weapons, that still re-traumatize them, because it's thinking, it's putting them back into that cycle of this. So there are people who have phobias. Phobia is being afraid of something. Something that some people can be afraid of height. You know, there are many types of phobias, and what may seem typical to one person may be a severe problem that dominates daily life for another. Different types include a simple phobia can be, these may include a disproportionate fear of specific object or scenarios or animals. A fear of a spider is a typical example. Some people generally, they are just scared of a spider. They think that if a spider stings you, you are gone. You may die easily. But so some others, they may be very scared of a scorpion also. So depending on individuals, there are so many individuals who may be phobia to one type of thing, but cannot be phobia to another type of thing, depending on that person's own experience. And again, social phobia, sometimes known as social anxiety. This is a fear of being watched or judged by others. People with social phobia often restrict their exposure to social environment. They think that when they are in the society, everybody is looking at them. Even you are talking to one another, they think that you are talking about them. So this would be also another type of phobia. Agoraphobia. Agoraphobia, the term agoraphobia refers to a fear of situation where getting away may be difficult, such as being in an elevator. You can be in an elevator, you think that you are trapped to yourself, or you can be in a moving train, you think you are trapped there. People sometimes misunderstand this phobia as a fear of being outside. So you can see it is too much and in a varying level. Now, there are other kinds of OCPD, what we call OCD. OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. People with obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, may experience constant or stressful thought and an urge to perform repetitive acts such as hand washing. Some people are very, very, tacky to some things. Like hand washing, mere hand washing, people may think they are phobia for that. They think that they germophobia. They think even if you shake hand with them, they will go and wash their hand over and over and over because they think they may just catch a germ or disease, you know. So those are people are obsessive in that. Or maybe in your kitchen, you think that even a little drop of thing, you keep cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. So meaning you are germophobic. You do not have any tolerance with germs. So you want to do one repetition over and over regarding a particular incident or thing or chores that you do in your daily life. PTSD. This is mostly common in people who are like military and stuff like that. But it's not only limited to military people. PTSD can occur after a person experience or witness a stressful or traumatic event. During this type of event, the person thinks their life or other people's life is in danger. They may feel afraid or that they have no control of what is happening. These sensations of trauma and fear may be contributed to PTSD. So now, like the military officers who go to war, they have seen a lot of killing. They have seen a lot of brutal things happen in their lifetime. Now, if they see a landmine has taken somebody's 2 legs off, so once their deployment is over, they come back home. Even when they are sleeping, they would be relieving that, they would be rethinking that experience in their sleep. You can see, they see everything like how you watch things on videos here and there. So that is for military. But for somebody who has witnessed a very dangerous things happen, like a terror attack or a huge accident, and somebody trying to burglarize their house, those people might not have control over that, but they feel so much traumatized about that incident, and it keeps ringing in their head over and over. So that would be post-traumatic stress disorder. Mood disorder also. We do have these things, and all of these things, like these disorders, all of them in one way or the other, some people cannot handle it in a different way and manner, and it makes them, if they could not have control over it and nobody is there to help them, that's why they end up, most of the people end up doing bad things on society, either by meting untold suffering or trying to kill mass people in gatherings here and there, or they end up killing themselves as well. So this is why mental health is a reality in our lives and in our society. We need to be very much alert. We look out for things that can exacerbate these things and go there and help before they go out of hand. So mood disorder, people may also refer to mood disorder as affective disorder or depressive disorder. People with these conditions have significant mood changes, generally involving either mania, you will call it, a period of high energy and joy, or depression. Example of mood disorder will come into like major depression. An individual with major depression experiences a constant low mood and loses interest in activities and events that they previously enjoyed. Anhedonia, they may feel prolonged period of sadness or extreme sadness. Now, somebody who is a very good soccer player, if they have a major depression, that soccer playing may become something very boring. In fact, it would be very dangerous for them, because they think that, you know, anytime you bring a soccer ball to them, they are phobia about the soccer ball, in fact, you know, because they have a depression. Maybe somebody was playing soccer and they have a major injury in that soccer playing. So that soccer playing would have become a major depression for them. And if they see a ball, or if they see people in jerseys, that reminds them of that. They become very much aggressive, and they will become very sad. They would lose interest in soccer, they cannot even do it at all. Now, bipolar disorder. A person with bipolar disorder experiences unusual changes, trusted sources in their mood, energy level of activity, and ability to continue with daily life. Periods of high mood are known as manic phases, while depressive phases bring on low mood. So bipolar people are those people who may be just sitting, chatting with you right now. They're talking good. In the next 2 minutes, they are very unhappy. They frown their faces. It's nothing personal. It is, high and lows. Those are people that go through that, and people should be able to recognize and observe these things if you see them, that the person is experiencing some kind of mental illness. Seasonal affective disorder, SAD, that is also another mental illness. It reduced daylight during the fall. Winter and early spring month triggers SAD. A type of major depression, trusted source. It most common in countries far from the equator. Now, these things are seasonal. Whenever it comes, like spring and winter time, and also when those times come, the person would end up having this thing. Like there are other patients that you call this thing, sundowners. Those sundowners are when the sun comes very much down, that's the time the manic period would start. And those manic periods, you need to be observant. They would be okay from daytime all the way through afternoon, but once the sun is coming down, that's when they become aggressive, or their episodes would start to show. And again, schizophrenia disorder. The term schizophrenia often refers to a spectrum of disorder characterized by features of psychosis. Now, when we say psychosis, it's a several mental condition in which thought and emotions are so affected that the contact is lost with external realities. Example, insanity. So people who have insanity, because they cannot think, the contact is extremely lost with external reality. Dementia, people who have dementia, elderly patients, senior citizens, because they cannot remember anything, or virtually anything. You can tell them there's something right now, in the next 2 minutes it is gone. They cannot keep it in their memory. Derangement, dementedness, instability, lunacy, distraction, depression, mania, hysteria, frenzy, psychopathy, schizophrenia, hydrophobia, and lycanthropy, insaneness, mental illness, and other severe symptoms. They are highly complex and common. All of these things, are things that are affecting our people in our society in a different way and manner. Now, when we look at the signs of schizophrenia, typically develop between the ages of 16 and 30. Schizophrenia happens in most people who are adolescents, like 16 to 30, trusted sources. And a person will have thoughts that appear fragmented and may also find it hard to process information. So schizophrenia has the negative and positive symptoms. Positive symptoms include delusions, thought disorder, and hallucination, while withdrawal, lack of motivation, and flat or inappropriate mood are examples of negative symptoms. All of those, hallucination, delusion, thought disorder, and withdrawal, lack of motivation, and flat, inappropriate behavior, would be meaning that that person is schizophrenic. So we can notice the early signs of all of these things. Like when we see somebody withdrawing from friends, families, and colleagues, we should know that there is something going wrong. When we see somebody avoid activities they would usually enjoy, we would know that something is virtually wrong with that person. Sleeping too much or too little, we should also know all of these things. Eating too much or too little, feeling hopelessness, and having consistently low energy, using mood alteration substances, including alcohol and nicotine, or more frequently, using alcohol and nicotine or drugs, displaying negative emotions. Anytime we see somebody manifesting this, we know that something is wrong virtually. Those are the early signs of somebody becoming, experiencing mental illness or schizophrenic. Being confused, being unable to complete daily tasks such as getting to work or cooking a meal. We know that then that person needs help, our divine intervention, undivided attention as well. We need to give our undivided attention to them. Having persistent thought or memories that reappear regularly. We thinking of causing physical harm to themselves or to others. They become dangerous to themselves and to others. DT or DTS, hearing voices, experiencing delusions. All of these are things that are very prevalent in our society, and we all need to be watchful of it. So, suicide prevention, how do we do? What do we do? You and I and so many others can do a lot of things to help people to prevent them from taking their own life. If you know someone at immediate risk of self-harm, suicide, or hurting another person, ask a tough question to that person. Are you considering suicide? Are you considering to kill yourself? It may not be popular. It is hard to ask, but it is the right thing to do according to professional and counselors, psychiatric and therapists. Listen to the person without judgment. You gotta be there, listen to them. Don't leave them to be lonely. They need you. Call 911 and communicate through the other suicide helplines. Stay with the person until professional help arrives. You need to do that, and try to remove all weapons or harmful substance around the person, because this is a person who is not himself or herself. They are losing it. They need support or somebody who can be making decisions for them at the time of need. So don't leave them by themselves, and remove all sharp objects, weapons and drugs, medicines before they can overdose themselves. If you or someone know is having thoughts of suicide or prevention hotline can help. The 988, as in America, the suicide hotline, you can do that, which is available for 24 hours. It can help people. And the warning sign for suicide: aggressive behavior, anger, irritability, changes in mood, energy levels, changes in appetite or sleeping habits, difficulty focusing, feeling restless or on the edge, a high consumption of alcohol and drugs, inappropriate drug use, participating in risky activities, feeling sad, hopeless, numb or emotionally flat, having aches, pain or other physical symptoms without a clear causes, obsessive or compulsive thoughts or behavior, thinking or acting in a way that causes concern to others or has a negative impact on work, social or family life. And you can see, thinking about attempting to end their own life. And if a person notices these symptoms in themselves, or if a loved one spots them, it is a good idea to seek medical help. But do not be ashamed of anything to say that, oh, this is what I have, people are going to judge me wrongly, this, that, and that. No. No one is going to be judgmental about you, and you only need help. treating mental health issue in the early ages can often prevent the symptoms from becoming more severe and lower the risk of complication. That is why there shouldn't be a stigma to this subject matter, because at the end of the day, make no mistake, you and I and so many others have seen so many people who do irrational things in society. They are not themselves. They kill people, mass murderers. They do things, you go to an event, you see somebody raging, a gun and bullet are flying, killing people without no remorse. They become narcissistic, no empathy. So at the end of the day, we should be cognizant of the fact that these are things that are real on our real things, and we should be very careful with the way and manner we treat them, and we should be watchful for them, and we should not put a bad connotation to people battling with mental illness, because it is real. You can have it, I can have it, and at the end of the day, with the proper education and the lifestyle that we do, would change the dynamic on the ground to think a little bit differently from now on about people suffering from mental health and the help they require or need. It's not going to be, again, the same thing in Africa, just like when we see a mental health person, we laugh at them, we throw stone at them, or kids would just yell at them and make jokes or fun of them. Those people need help. They need our help. They should otherwise be at a very specialized institution that would take care of them. And this is why we have so many people out and about who do so many bad things, because they are not in their right frame of mind. They lose hope in life because either they are lonely, they have had a severe trauma in their lifetime, and they needed help at a time when no one was available to offer that help to them, but instead they are making fun and ridiculing them. That is why the society is going upside down, in the sense that everybody needs to have a mental health counseling knowledge to know whether you are a police officer. Because, well, come to think of it, we look at a video in Germany where a police officer went to respond. The second information we had gathered was that Lamine Toure, a 46 Gambian-year-old man who was in Germany, his fiancée or girlfriend or wife called the police to come and help, because how she perceived it, Lamine Toure was not his own self as how he used to be. But when the police came, they could otherwise dialogue, and to use the use of force continuum, the level of force has to be you dialogue with the person to make sure that you get them out of that crisis situation. But instead, they did not do that, because merely to them, conventional standard would teach us that no one should attack the police or charge at them. But a police officer who has the training in mental health crisis situation would have approached or taken that incident a little bit differently by trying to making sure that they remove Lamine Toure, either he was having either a knife or a gun, to remove him out of the crisis situation, than raining bullets in his chest to kill him. Unlike another white man who was in a similar condition with a bigger knife and a longer knife, you know, about 7 to 8 police officers were struggling with him, and it took them 6 to 7 minutes to be able to remove him outside that crisis situation. It took them from 6 minutes to 7. So it comes to think of that. The black person who was in the same similar crisis situation was killed immediately without proper and more dialogue or trying to remove him out of that crisis situation. But this white man who has the same similar weapon with a bigger one and a much bigger threat was dialogued with until they were able to remove him out of that incident. So that I keep up saying that there is a bias in all of our behaviors, and sometimes what we do, people see it clearly to know that, oh, okay, what you do, you are not making all of us the same, in the sense that what a rule for one should be a rule for all. That's why, friends of the Gambia and fellow Gambians, and those who are watching this. At the end of the day, we just all have to be very much careful about ourselves and to be situationally aware, think outside the box, and make sure that we look out for ourselves. Mental health is very eminent, and it is taking so many people's life, and it's making so many people to go insane and die when their actual time of death is not yet. But at the end of the day, it would take a concerted effort for us to put all hands on deck, to have empathy, to have remorse. We should not be narcissistic. We should not be people who are very numb in terms of feeling or in terms of having sympathy for others. When we do that, we can change this society in a much significant and profound manner for you and I. I thank you all. This is 𝒂𝒐𝒊𝒏, United States of America.